Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 6th webinar in Inspirational Authorship. I'm Joyce Ross. Next to me is Patricia Connor. And we have a really exciting evening planned for you. So welcome, everybody. Now, I've made an error, and I've kicked poor Patricia out of the chat room. So we're going to be watching the chat together, but we won't be able to type in tonight, or we'll get too close to the computer. Homework. How many people did their homework? I don't know. I think only the one person did their homework. But one of the things I do want to talk about was last week's homework was scene writing. And we had a number of steps, and I just want to quickly go over them. One was to write a scene that identifies a conflict, includes tension and suspense. And you could use your story if you've already started writing your story. And then you wanted to examine it. You wanted to look at what the main conflict was and if there was secondary conflict. And we talked about the fact that internal conflict, like the little voices in your head, I'm sure you all have them, or is it just me? Do you have those?
Oh, no.
No. And then we were going to look for the range of emotions and to see if you accomplished your job and what you wanted the reader to feel in their emotions, and enough suspense to draw readers in. So creating suspense is huge in writing. We don't want to give away the punchline before we finish telling the joke, which would be one of my favorite things to do. So just wanted to encourage you guys, if you didn't see that and you're on tonight and you weren't here last week, make sure you go back and watch the video, which you can do. The link always comes out to you in the thank you email, and so you know where to find that. Did you want to say anything?
Hi, everyone.
That'll do.
So, Joy, I mean, they might have done their homework, but we
Yeah.
only got one person that actually sent it to us.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't worry about sending us the homework, even though it's not, perfect. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, it just gives us an idea of what's going on out there and what we need to concentrate on. And we do have a surprise announcement for you tonight that we'll do after the video. And I want to thank Shannon. Don't know, Shannon, if you're on or not, because I can't see who's in the chat room right now. But Shannon did a really good job last week from Zone 1 Wellness in Calgary. And one of the things I didn't emphasize that's really, really important that Shannon said was joining writing groups.
Yes.
It's so important to join a writing group. If there's one mistake I made in writing, it was not joining a writing group. So I didn't have the feedback that I needed to have about my writing. I might have improved a lot quicker. So try to do that. And I really liked that Shannon's idea about lunchtime presentations as a way to get into businesses, and I thought that was really cool. Today we're going to have Marla Lackey on from Texas, and we'll introduce her in a minute, and she's going to talk about inspiration and motivation. And the topic tonight is humor. So some people like to write humor. There's a few authors that are sending in some really humorous stuff. Jerry Baisley is one of them. He sent me in a wonderful story that we're going to look at after the video, which is really impressive. It's a scene. So I'm looking forward to that, and we're going to introduce Marla, and I'm just going to put it on. After you do that, after you ask the questions and introduce her, then I'm going to switch it over to just Marla.
Okay, so one of the things that we asked, and Marla Lackey is from San Antonio, Texas, like you said. And I won't give you too much information about her because we have the 3 questions. Remember the 3 questions, or 3 statements, I should say.
3 statements.
And 2 of them are true and 1 is false. So I'm going to read those out to you, and then you get to write in the one that you think is false. Okay, so everybody ready? Here we go. So here are the questions, or I keep saying questions, and you did 2 last week, which is really interesting. I think we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to change the exercise to questions instead of statements. But here we go. So Marla says that CrossFit is her exercise of choice. That's number 1. Marla is Hispanic but doesn't speak Spanish. Number 2. And Marla has 4 kids. And she is a mother of twins. That's the 3rd one. So which one do you think is false? Don't do it right now because you'll listen to Marla and maybe you'll get some hints during her talk.
Now, Marla, I do want to say, is an RN.
Yes.
And I think that's really cool. And she works with babies, which I think is really, really, really fun. And that's all I can say, I guess. Otherwise, we're giving away answers.
Yeah, Marla, and we have to put you in touch with Lisa Walker from collection number 3, who is from California, and she did that for years, for many years.
Oh,
And she has her story in book 3. So watch out for Lisa's story when it comes out in January.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Marla, so take a deep breath. I'm going to switch over, and you're going to be our guest presenter. So here you go.
Okay, thank you. I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to talk with you guys tonight. The topic of gratitude is one that I'm very, very familiar with. And the reason being is that I had a mom who was real big into teaching me good manners. From the very beginning, it was always make sure you know to say please and thank you. And I grew up with that, and it was very much instilled in me. I can recall very early in life that as I was heading over to my grandparents' house or any place where there was a gift exchange, my mom would kind of say, you know what, you make sure you say your thank yous, and even if you don't like the gift, make sure you say thank you and smile. And so I did. I said, yes, Mom. And by the time I got to I guess grade school, there was a parent who would always bring me home from school or from church activities. And the first things out of my mom's mouth was not, how was your day? It was, did you thank Mr. Camaro for bringing you home? And I'm like, yes, Mom. Yeah, I did. Oh, good, good, honey. Oh, and how was your day? And then later on, as the gifts from and money from high school graduations, college graduations, or wedding, the next thing out of my mom's mouth were these verbal nudges of, did you write those thank you notes out and get them out in the mail? You know, time's going. You better get those out before it's too late. Yes, Mom, I am. And so one thing I had to be very careful of is if my mom ever saw me roll my eyes at any of those requests or statements, she would get very irritated, and she'd kind of look at me and cringe and say, quit acting so ungrateful. And so there I was going through the motions of obeying my mom, and because I knew that was the right thing to do. And as time and maturity kicked in, I was beginning to understand and apply the feeling of gratitude that went along with my words, that went along with my actions, and that went along with those written thank you notes. And around that time, my mom brought it to my attention that when good things happen to you, or when God answers your prayers, you better thank Him. And I did. In high school, it was, thank you, God, that I made it for varsity cheerleader. In college, it was, thank you, God, that I was able to get through my nursing school and pass my state board so that I can become a nurse. And as a young mom, I remember praying and thanking God for the blessing of having a healthy pregnancy and safe deliveries, especially with my history of miscarriages. So I was noticing that the more that I was acknowledging God's blessing in my life, the easier it was for me to appreciate other people. And I remember it dawning on me, wow, my mom and dad paid for my college education and my wedding. That was something that was always told to us at a very early age, that those were the two gifts they were going to give us. But it wasn't until I got older that I realized that was a lot of sacrifice that they did. We weren't rich. You know, they saved and they took out loans. And I remember feeling so much gratitude in my heart. I couldn't say enough thank yous. And I could see that my mom was kind of, now she gets it. Now she understands what gratitude's all about. So it was clicking with me. And that was when the 1990s were in, and those aha moments and the clickings were coming in thanks to Oprah Winfrey. I was a fan then, and still am a fan. And she had a guest on the show one time that emphasized the impact of keeping a gratitude journal. And what it was is that you keep a journal by your bedside, and every night before you go to bed, you write down 5 things that you're grateful for. And what that does is it kind of keeps you in this state of positivity, of humility and peace and just contentment. And I love that idea. I thought that was so cool. So I went to Barnes & Noble and bought my own little Oprah, seal of approval with a stamp on it of Oprah's version of the gratitude journal. And I bought my mom one. And I just thought she would get a kick out of it, and so did I. And so we enjoyed it. We did it. And her and I were both on this wavelength of the gratitude department, and we just thought all was well. You know, it was going great in that time period. And so I thought. And so what happened is that my poor mom had this one nagging feeling that always interrupted her state of grace. And that was her fear of getting breast cancer. When her mom got it, I remember her saying, I hope it doesn't run in the family. And then when her sister got diagnosed a few years later, she kind of half joking, half seriously said, well, I better not be next in line. And then by the time her younger sister got it, breast cancer, my mom was terrified. And she'd say, oh gosh, better them than me. I could not do it. I couldn't handle it. I don't want it. Better not happen to me. So my mom's way of coping was to pray out of fear. Please, God, don't let me have breast cancer. Please let it not be me. And that and burying her head in the sand. And it was so frustrating for us for me and for all who loved her, to watch her just put the mammograms on the wayside and put those physicals away because she didn't want to deal with it. The fear paralyzed her. And she was the master at avoiding the topic, changing the subject, and just dismissing anything you had to say regarding her health. And it was so frustrating. Well, unfortunately, her turn did come up. And her worst fear came true, and she was about to live this nightmare that had been haunting her for years. She was devastated. I was devastated. We were all devastated. And we were coming out of the doctor's office. I can remember the details to the T. And it was my mom having her panic attack because we had just learned that she had cancer. And she was like, I can't do this. I just can't. And she's shaking, her trembling, hyperventilating. And I go into labor and delivery mode, and I start sharing with her how to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Come on, Mom. Couldn't do it. She couldn't stay focused. So I remember what she did with us or with me when I was little, or to her grandchildren. She'd hold us and she'd go, shh. She would use this shushing noise to try to calm us down. So that's what I did. I held her and I used that same vibration, that same tone, and she calmed down. And I remember thinking, what am I going to say now? And obviously the Holy Spirit just shot right in, because these words came to me so effortlessly. And what it was is me telling her, I grabbed her arms. I said, Mom, you know what? You're right. You can't do this. You cannot do this alone. But with God, you can. And if you change the words from I to we, then you can do this. We can do this. God does not intend for you to do this alone. Your favorite scripture was, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now it's your turn to apply it. Now it's your time to live it. And I just remember it just being even more peaceful than it was before. And we wiped our eyes, and she's like, you're right, honey, you're right. And then we get in the car and we clean up our faces and touch up our makeup. And she says, let's go to Wendy's and get a Frosty, and then head over to St. Matthew's and say some prayers. It was like this turning point, this transition just boom, happened just like that. And then looking back, I realized that verbal and emotional and spiritual exchange that had happened reminded me of the movie Rocky, when Rocky's wife, Adrian, kind of gave him that pep talk when he was at his lowest point, his rock bottom. And she gave him those words of encouragement, and he went out and, hit the meat and climbed those stairs and ran the beach. Well, God and I were Adrian, and Mom was Rocky, except she didn't hit that meat. She did it her way. And what that pivotal point was that she surrendered. And when she surrendered and gave her worries up to God, she flourished. And her prayers were no longer fear-based. I saw her faith was totally renewed. I could see it in her eyes, and I could see it and I could feel it. Not just see it, but I could feel it. And one thing about my mom is she was so beautiful, and she had this blonde hair that always was the focal point of people when they saw her. And that was gone now. She was bald. And so you focus on her beautiful hazel eyes. But the color was not getting my attention. It was the look of humility, the look of peace, and that inner strength. She tolerated the side effects of chemo so gracefully. She continued to babysit her grandchildren. She continued to go to her grandchildren's sporting events. She was strong enough to go to Sunday Mass and to her church activities throughout the week. She even joined an online support group for breast cancer patients and survivors. She was not missing a beat. Her daily prayers ended with, and bless those who were praying for me.
Oh.
And I was like, my goodness. She was always others oriented. So she'd always think of others. And here she is dealing with her own cancer, and she's asking God to bless those who are praying for her. And then she'd go through this long litany of thank yous. Thank you, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That took up even more time. But it was beautiful. It was great to see. And I also noticed that as she was going through her fight, her outer beauty was correlating with the inner beauty that she was showing. And what I mean by that is that my mom was a matchy-matchy person. She loved to coordinate her clothing and took pride in how she looked. So she brought these beautiful head scarves that matched her blouses and had the matching lipstick. So she was rocking it. She looked beautiful. And we were sitting in the waiting room one day, and this woman who looked very frail, fighting cancer, you could tell it was wearing on her. You know, I called her a frail and pale looking woman, and came up to my mom and she says, you know, ma'am, every time I see you, you always look so good. What is your secret? And my mom, she reached down in her purse and she said, faith and a tube of lipstick. And the woman just looked at her, and I looked at my mom, and next thing you know, they called my mom back to go back to the exam room, and she looked at the lady, my mom did, and she says, well, I'll be praying for you. God bless you. And that was it. So 2 weeks later, this woman, I see her back in the waiting room, and I see her from a distance, and this time she looked more, she was sitting upright, her shoulders were back. She just looked so radiant, colorful. I said, Mom, look, there's that lady, the lady that you showed your lipstick to. And we look at the lady, and she saw us looking at her, and she gets her lipstick and she waves it at my mom and I. I said, Mom, you don't even know this woman, and you touched her life like that. And my mom's like, yeah, you know, I guess. She didn't even realize that she was touching lives, that she was dealing with this worst nightmare. She was doing beautifully. So that was a really cool moment. And I was thinking about it, it's like, there were still some times that were very challenging throughout her journey. It wasn't all peaches and cream. And when we started to worry, like when we were waiting for those CAT scan results or side effects were kind of getting a little challenging, I remembered that gratitude journal. But I didn't get the Oprah kind. That was already in the 90s. This was in the 2000s. So I went to Target and I just got the spiral notebook, and I said, here, Mom, we're going to keep track of the things we're grateful for, but not at night. We're going to do it in the moment. So I kept it in my purse, and we'd go to doctor's appointments or we'd go out to eat, and we'd start jotting down the things that made us smile, the things that made us feel good. For instance, in a waiting room or in the restaurant, we could hear overhead guitar music. Oh, that just made my mom and I's heart just beam, because we thought of my beloved dad who had just passed away a year earlier. She could hear Elvis Presley playing. She loved Elvis Presley. She was the president of the Elvis Presley company growing up. And she would just smile. So there I am writing down, hearing Elvis Presley. Oh, that sure was a nice nurse that took care of me. Nice nurse. Or if she got a clear CAT scan. Everything we wrote down was all out of gratitude. And if we weren't writing it, we were verbalizing it. We were talking about it. So it kept us on track. And not, you know, so that we wouldn't just get off that wagon of feeling grateful. Never, ever, ever in a million years did we think that thanking God in the midst of suffering could even be possible. But it had to take my mom to be diagnosed with cancer for us to understand that it takes you to truly surrender and to have a thankful heart, so that you can have room for God to get in there, to provide you with that amazing grace, to give you that peace and that inner strength that is all consuming. And my mom is living proof of that. She was living proof of that. And so I was just so blessed to be able to share our story with you, because I feel that when I speak about it, or if I write about it, is my own personal thank you note back to God and back to my mom for teaching me this valuable lesson of gratitude. There is no better way to honor them than by sharing this kind of hope with others. And I hope I did that with you guys. So thank you.
Wow, Marla, I want to applaud. Wow, what a speaker. And what a
Thank
story.
you.
I knew your story because you've written about it. And you're going to be calling your story, what's the name of your chapter? Your book?
Faith and a Tube of Lipstick.
Faith and a Tube of Lipstick. That's such a catchy title. I really, really love it. And I love the story about your mom. And she's still helping people, because I'm sure that people are listening and will be listening on the replays. And so, you know, through you, she's still carrying her message and her faith forward. So thank you, Marla.
That was fabulous.
Wasn't that fabulous? Yeah,
Marla.
really,
Thank you
really
so much.
Thank you for
yeah,
sharing.
very, very excellent. Are there any questions that came in?
No.
Okay, so are we gonna get people to guess now?
Well, we have one guess.
What's one guess?
Yeah. So Shannon says that the one that is not right is that you're Hispanic, but you don't speak Spanish.
But that's not true.
That's true.
That
That
is
is
true.
I am Hispanic and I don't speak Spanish. I know the bad words, but that's it. But I don't speak Spanish like I should. But yes, that's a true statement.
Okay, so there's two other ones. So
Well, you can teach her how, because
We-
Patricia
yes,
speaks
I
Spanish.
speak Spanish.
Woo!
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so the one that wasn't true was,
Okay, Jerry said
Oh.
CrossFit.
oh, he wants to go to CrossFit.
That is not true. I
Ah.
cannot stand CrossFit. Oh, it's
What
horrible.
is CrossFit?
It's like a boot camp, you know. They do burpees and they do a lot of repetition and real fast movements and jumping jacks and throwing balls and
Yeah, it's not my favorite either.
no, I'm more calm. Give me the yoga any day, you know. I'm a little
Some
more
music
calm.
to dance to, something that's fun.
A little jazzercise or something. Yeah.
So Jerry got it right.
Yay, Jerry.
Congratulations,
Yay.
Jerry. Okay, so you have to put us back up.
Okay, so thank you very, very much, Marla. That was just excellent.
Thank
And
you.
I'm going to go back to us presenting. Okay, this always takes a second. I think we're back. Okay, so it's movie time. How exciting is that?
Great.
So it's all ready to go. We just have to push the button. So we'll see you guys in 20 minutes. I know Patricia's way better at telling you exactly the seconds, but it's under 20 minutes. I think it's 18 minutes and 27 seconds. So see you when we get back. Hi everybody, we're back, and I hope you enjoyed that video. And now we have what I think is a super treat. We're going to bring a PowerPoint slide up with Jerry Baisley's scene writing exercise, which is really funny. And Patricia's going to read it to you. So that's going to be kind of fun too. So we're just going to take a look at that. So give me a second to get that up. Okay, Patricia, you're on.
Okay. Stop moving, or we'll stop shooting, I yelled. When young, my brother wasn't the brightest bulb on the tree. His response to being caught where he shouldn't be was about what I should have expected. 5 years younger, from the time he could walk, he annoyed me by following me everywhere, even when reprimanded and told to stay home. In the 9 years since his birth, he hadn't managed to get the message. A month earlier, after squirreling away every penny that could be squeezed from my paper routes and other jobs for an entire year, I'd bought it, a CO2 pellet pistol. Today was the day that the prestige of possession could finally be realized. After telling my folks that Wayne, my longtime friend and co-conspirator in all, and I were going to get milkshakes, the two of us slipped off to our usual spot down by the river to meet up with friends. With pride, I presented my
Luger-like.
Thank you, Luger-like pellet pistol that everyone coveted. And now I owned. What joy, what elation. All were impressed. Unbeknownst to me, my little
Bother.
Okay. You can see it's either bother or brother.
Yeah, it's bother.
Had followed us. One of the guys had seen and captured him before he could spirit away and tell our parents. They would not have been impressed. The threat of being shot with a pellet gun if he tattled initiated his attempt to escape to the right. A shot in front of him turned him the opposite way. Another shot in front of him caused him to perform an additional turnabout. By the time I yelled at him, I was barely able to get my words out. He looked so much like one of the ducks in the shooting gallery at a fair that was all I could not.
It was all I could do not to fall
on the ground and roll around in a fit of uncontrollable laughter. When he finally stopped scurrying back and forth and swore on a stack of Bibles, we were from a devout Scottish Presbyterian family, that he would never tell parents, we sent him home. He kept his word and didn't mention the incident to me until 2013. More to come.
I love that story.
Well done,
I
Jerry.
know, he did such a good job. Cancel. Okay, how come this is not stopping? There we go, we're back. Isn't that fun? That's the first time you've heard that story.
Yes, it is.
And did it make you laugh?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, made me laugh. I can just see this poor kid. The first time I read that, Jerry, I got to tell you, I was just killing myself laughing, sitting here, imagining your poor brother going zoom, 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 and you guys keeping him dancing like that. So really well written, really fun. Just love it. You definitely are a comedic writer. So I hope you keep that tone in your stories because people will love it. And yeah, so thank you very much for letting us share that, Jerry. So let's just check the chat room, see if anybody's written into us in a while. Beautiful stories, what Louise said about Marla and Shannon's Wahoo. That was an inspiring story with great morals for all. Thanks for sharing, Jerry Crosswood. Oh, that was the gas. And hello to everyone. I finished my homework, but working on it. That's Shannon. Okay, great, Shannon. Okay, guys, so I promised I was going to give you an announcement. Now, you know your homework from the video is simply to write a true story that includes humor. And I know that might be really tough for some of you, but try. And you can always pick up, you know, a Heart, Mind, Wisdom book #1. I keep saying that, don't I?
Yes.
And read some of
the book.
Yeah, it is. And read some of the stories from the authors in there to get some ideas about how to write humor, or just write a funny family story. Just something silly that happened, you know, when you were in grade school, or something silly that happened between you and a sibling, or some rebellious attempt that went wrong for you or whatever. It doesn't really matter. The whole idea is just get used to writing humor. Now, Jerry, I know, is not going to have any problem with this assignment at all. I'll probably get another paragraph, which I'm really looking forward to. Okay. Now we're going to give you what we think is a really exciting announcement, and that is in that we're not going to have any writing lessons for about 4 weeks. And there's a few reasons for that. One is I'm getting a lot of emails from people saying that they can't keep up. So they're not getting any homework done and not getting any feedback and wishing that they could so that they get more value from the course. So I understand that and I appreciate that. And the second reason is that I've got some stories that are just coming in for the Heart, Mind, Wisdom #3 that I want to give full editing attention to, because that's my baby. I love editing and working with the authors, so I don't want to let anybody down. So I need to do that, and but I want to be in contact with you guys. So we're not going away, and kind of as a bonus for bearing with us, we're going to do some fun stuff with you. But when we come back, I'm actually going to do more than just 4 more courses. There's a lot more to teach you, and I'm just realizing as we go along that I cram a lot of stuff into one lesson, so I'm going to spread it out a bit more, especially about the grammar and the not writing in roundabout phrases. And one of the things that you can do is when you send me your work, I can actually see who's having trouble with different things and who's not. And I'll just tell you a really quick tip about grammar that everybody always asks me because nobody really knows. And it's no one's fault. Because it's one way in British writing and it's one way in American writing. And that is the punctuation goes inside of quotation marks. So it's like period, quotation mark, exclamation mark, quotation mark, question mark, quotation mark. In Britain, they do it opposite. But we write for an American audience because we're in North America. So that's just to answer that for anybody who's still wondering about that, who hasn't asked me that in person or via email. And okay, so the exciting stuff. So here comes the exciting stuff. We were so impressed with Shannon and so impressed with Marla. And we have more people. I know that Joseph out of New York, Toronto, depending where he lives this week, has agreed to present next week. And so I want 2 more people, and we'll have up to 3 people per week. There won't be a writing lesson. It'll just be presenting. And that will help you to get familiar with doing webinars and get you ready for when your book is published to go out and speak to groups, because that's the primary way you're going to sell your book, is you're actually going to go and speak to audiences. And one of the things Shannon said last week that I was so happy to hear was those lunchtime presentations. Like, I'm going to look into that, just saying, you know, come by and do a lunchtime presentation. And then once they get to know you, they can call you in for the bigger stuff, the bigger convention. So I just really love that. So that's what we're going to do. And super treat. Ms. Connor, who teaches inspirational speaking, is going to give tips. So, and she'll also, when you're speaking on the webinar, afterwards, she will give you a phone call or an email and just give you some tips, you know, one-to-one about how you might improve upon what you did. And she'll give us just general tips, right, about how to present. Yes. And even more exciting is that she does interviews. And if you have seen Oprah Winfrey interview someone and that person just shines like a star in the sky on the darkest night, that's Patricia's talent too.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Joy.
Well, it's true. Always call her my little Oprah. So yeah, she's very good at that. Really good at bringing people out. And so if you're nervous about just doing a presentation, then you can just opt to have an interview. And we will have a split screen. So we're going to be able to have, you know, 2 people showing up at the same time on this, you know, one on each side of the screen. And I'm going to be in Victoria for a few weeks, so I'll be broadcasting from there. Patricia will be broadcasting from here. We'll have the split screen, and when one of you goes on with Patricia, you'll be where I normally am, and I'll disappear. Is that exciting?
It's very exciting.
Yeah. So do we have any questions? And I will send all this out in an email. You don't have to memorize anything because I know I can't.
Gail has a question about the story. I guess that must be the homework. How long should that story be? Well, it doesn't ever, I hate to give amounts of, you know, writing, like how many words you're allowed to have or whatever, because your story is going to be what your story is going to be. But you're trying to get this done like in a week. So Gail, whatever feels right for you. If you want to write 1 page, write 1 page. If you want to write 3 pages, write 3 pages. You guys have been taking a lot of training now, that you've got a really good handle on what you're doing.
and it's time to practice. So just write to your heart's content and send it in to me. And you don't have to worry about being perfect. That's what I'm here for, is to help you with anything that's, you know, not clear, or to help you with grammar or how to shorten things. Or that's my job, is to make sure that you're really comfortable with your writing. And the only way I know how to do that is to look at your work and to have conversations. I actually prefer the phone or Skype. Well, the phone actually, because then I can have on the computer in front of me your story and make changes as we go. It's actually the way I prefer to co-edit. So anyways, this is your big chance to learn a lot and have a lot of fun. And that's kind of it for me for tonight. Do you have anything you want to add?
So the story, I mean, really, it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
A beginning, a middle, and an end. That's always important. Like you'll notice in Jerry's, it was really well set up with his, you know, we'll stop shooting when you stop moving. I can't remember, what was the line? It was, I've got it here. Stop moving and we'll stop shooting. That was a great opening line, because how could you not want to read the rest of that story? Because somebody's getting shot at and they won't shoot him if he doesn't move. So we have to find out what was going on. So great story. So great opening and a great middle and really, really funny story. So
okay, so we need some emails for, I know Joseph is going to be on next week, and
Joseph will be on.
We want a couple more people. So let's see who would take our challenge. And
well, I'm going to be on Oceana's case.
Yes.
We've been talking about it, so I'm going to be on her case to be on.
She's not on, well, she hasn't been on the chat, and I think it's because she's having some technical issues.
She has a router problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks everybody. See you next Tuesday, and we'll be on, and we'll have some special guests, and you get to know your friends in writing better.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good
Take
night.
care.